I want to take your attention back a second, okay? Breaking news. Kash Patel is nominated to be the FBI director. Dan Bongino is nominated to be the number 2 at the FBI. MAGA celebrates, rejoices, bells are ringing out. The team, Patel, Bongino, that sought out every podcast microphone to talk about the Epstein list. The names are finally going to get released. It begins. They produce white binders. Phase 1 with the podcasters. This is not actually one of them, of course. I made this. Your name's on it, right? And the names are going to come out. Pam Bondi says the list is on her desk. Then a memo comes out all of a sudden and says, there's no list. Oh, no phase 2. Phase 2 binders never happen. You said the conspiracy theories around Epstein just aren't true. They never have been. And yesterday, in an answer to Senator Kennedy, you said the FBI is not in possession of any credible evidence that Epstein trafficked girls to anyone but himself. So according to your testimony yesterday and in this committee, according to the evidence the FBI has, the number of names on the list are 0.
No,
zero.
The index has been released, and the number of people involved in that trafficking operation were charged in 2018.
Other than Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, your testimony in the Senate and here is that according to the evidence you have, the number of other names is 0.
That were charged based on credible evidence.
Well, who are the other names? Give me the other names that weren't charged.
We are not releasing the names of anyone because the Department of Justice never does that of anyone that didn't have any credible information to attack them.
Let me move forward. The president has, you've seen the picture of the woman's body with the writing and the president's signature. The president says that's not his, okay? President says it's not his. The Republican colleagues say it's not his. The administration say it's not his. Will you be opening up an investigation into the Epstein estate for putting out a fake document with the president's signature linking him to the world's largest pedophile ring? Will you be opening that investigation into that?
On what basis?
On what basis? They literally put out a fake document, according to the president, with a fake signature. It's a forgery of the president of the United States signature. That's the basis.
Sure, I'll do it.
Okay, I look forward to that investigation. Am I over? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your diligence.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Kash Patel entered the room with feigned confidence, ready to face the committee session. In barely 47 seconds, everything he had built was at risk of collapsing. He did not see the trap awaiting him and walked straight into it. Cameras captured every micro-expression on his face as the assembly held its breath. What was Jared Moskowitz revealing that made America's most powerful FBI director appear like a cornered amateur? 3 weeks earlier, Congressman Jared Moskowitz had made a discovery that would change everything. In his Parkland office, surrounded by case files, he closely tracked Kash Patel's public statements about the Epstein investigation. 47 occasions where Patel had promised explosive revelations that never came. The pattern was clear. Someone had trapped himself by promising the impossible. A predatory smile stretched across his lips. He had found his target. On February 12, 2025, at 9:47 a.m., in room 2141 of the Rayburn House office building, the atmosphere was electric. This was not a routine oversight session. This was Kash Patel's moment of truth. Entering like a veteran of political battles, his suit impeccably tailored, his every step radiated confidence. But upon closer observation, one could notice his jaw tightly set, eyes scanning the MAGA supporters in the gallery, fingers nervously drumming on his briefcase before restraining himself. In that briefcase were 3 folders, 2 standard and 1 completely empty, the one that should have contained the infamous Epstein list that millions awaited. The gallery was packed. In the front row, Epstein accountability activists. Behind them, MAGA loyalists in Trust Kash t-shirts. Further back, the press sensing blood in the water. Meanwhile, Moskowitz had spent 3 weeks preparing what would become the most devastating political trap in congressional history. Through his contacts at the Department of Justice, the FBI, and within Trump's inner circle, he knew the list had never existed. A former prosecutor turned congressman, Moskowitz, understood that effective questioning relied on facts, not theatrics. Facts left the witness with nowhere to hide. 3 days earlier, he had rehearsed every question, anticipated every possible dodge Patel might attempt. Sitting at his assigned seat, row 3, position 7, he appeared calm and relaxed. Yet his fingers traced the contours of an imaginary white binder, the binder that would reveal the entire trap. At exactly 9:51 a.m., Chairman Jim Jordan called the session to order. The committee will come to order. Today, we examine the FBI's ongoing operations and Director Patel's first 30 days in office. The first wave of questions unfolded as planned. Republicans posed softball questions, allowing Patel to appear competent and in control, cooperation with ICE, domestic terrorism threats, recruitment and diversity initiatives. His answers were precise, technical, and sounded authoritative. Even the Democrats, sharper in their questioning, initially failed to destabilize him. He deflected controversial topics by promising detailed written responses. Gradually, Patel relaxed, even smiling when Andy Biggs praised his commitment to transparency. But the energy in the room suddenly shifted. An electric tension filled the assembly. The decisive moment was approaching. The press gallery stirred, staffers ceased side conversations, and the C-SPAN cameras seemed to refocus on Moskowitz. Still silent, he let Patel grow anxious over his muteness. Even during a brief recess, Patel leaned over to his assistant. "What's Moskowitz's plan?" Chen shrugged. Nobody knew. At 10:47 a.m., with exactly 13 minutes remaining, Moskowitz casually raised his hand, almost nonchalantly, but the gesture electrified the room. "Mr. Chairman, I yield myself 5 minutes for questions," he said. Everyone leaned in, sensing the moment was coming. MAGA supporters, absorbed in their phones, suddenly looked up impatient, though for very different reasons. Moskowitz began with a deceptively friendly tone, the one seasoned politicians use just before striking. "Thank you for being here today, and my condolences on your recent loss." Polite, human, empathetic Patel let his guard drop even further. He nodded, relaxed, even discussing social media disinformation and conspiracy theories circulating on these platforms, mentioning Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk, and expressing concern about foreign manipulation. Moskowitz let him speak, making him feel aligned with him, almost like a friend. Then, in a subtle but devastating transition, he introduced the word zero, a term that would change everything. It was as if the temperature in the room had dropped 10 degrees. Patel blinked, confused. Suddenly, the FBI director, who had promised revelations about the Epstein list, was confronted with the reality. There was nothing to reveal. Moskowitz then produced a fictitious white binder, mimicking the presentation of evidence, creating the perfect illusion of what MAGA had been waiting for years. The audacity of the implicit admission hit the room. This document didn't exist, yet it served to demonstrate the truth. He continued, "Your testimony in the Senate, and here, shows that, according to the evidence you have, the number of other people involved in the Epstein case, charged in 2018 besides Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, is absolute silence. 4 seconds of suspension then, 0. The word landed like a nuclear bomb. Patel turned pale, mouth slightly open, unable to respond with anything but hollow bureaucratic phrases, claiming not to release any names due to a lack of credible information. Moskowitz's trap was perfect. He used Patel's own promises against him, exposing the total absence of a list, shattering activists' hopes for justice and MAGA supporters' euphoria. Patel's face showed inner collapse. His famed composure in political situations was completely absent. Even his assistant, Chen, placed a hand on his arm, a calming gesture that betrayed the gravity of the moment. Within minutes, social media exploded, headlines flooded in, and Patel's decades-long career seemed finished. The power of the trap lay in its simplicity. No shouting, no partisan attacks, just the truth exposed under oath, proving there was no Epstein list. The public instantly understood the historic weight of those few minutes, and Patel's perception shifted from hero to cautionary tale, an example of the dangers of promising more than one can deliver. In just 5 minutes, Moskowitz had demonstrated that sometimes the most powerful weapon against lies or manipulation is neither authority nor threat, but the simple ability to ask the right question at the right time and force someone to tell the truth in front of the entire world. After those decisive 5 minutes, the committee chairman, Jim Jordan, sensed that his star witness had just been eviscerated and quickly called for a recess, but the damage was done. The footage was already circulating on social media, headlines were piling up, and Kash Patel's decades-long career, built on reputation and political promises, seemed to collapse. The brilliance of Moskowitz's trap lay in its elegant simplicity. He had used no partisan attacks, no conspiracy theories, no dramatic theatrics. He had simply exploited Patel's own promises, cornered him with basic logic, and forced him to admit the truth: there was no Epstein list. The irony was cruel. Patel had always been telling the truth. The FBI's Epstein investigation had been thorough and professional. Only 2 people had been prosecuted and convicted. Yet this truth, revealed at the moment of maximum expectation, destroyed everything he had built. The Epstein justice activists in the front row sat stunned, realizing that years of activism, vigils, lawsuits, and lobbying would not lead to the revelations they had hoped for. Behind them, MAGA supporters in Trust Kash shirts seemed physically struck, betrayed after investing hope, money, and political engagement in a hero who proved incapable of delivering what he had promised. Conservative podcasters, whose credibility rested on the supposed existence of the list, found themselves in impossible positions. Some attempted to reinterpret the testimony. Others quietly changed the subject. Trump's silence was telling. No statements, no supportive tweets, a void heavier than any public criticism. Republican allies began distancing themselves, while Democrats quietly celebrated. The video evidence of Patel saying zero was already becoming the perfect campaign weapon against anyone who had supported him. Even the whisper campaigns quickly suggested that Patel might not be the right fit for the FBI, implying that a leader less prone to impossible promises would be preferable. Patel's final testimony, desperately searching for escape routes in meaningless technical language, only confirmed what everyone already saw. There was no list, no conspiracy to expose, and his career was irreparably compromised. The moment was historic, not for complexity or theatrics, but for the simple, cold power of facts revealed live before the entire world. It was a lesson in the power of truth within a system allergic to it, showing that sometimes the most effective weapon against lies and corruption is neither a badge, nor a subpoena, nor evidence, but the ability to ask the right question at the right time and force someone to answer honestly under oath. In just 47 seconds of targeted questioning, Jared Moskowitz had transformed a man once seen as the future most loyal and effective leader of conservative law enforcement into a cautionary example of the dangers of promising more than one can deliver. In the following moments, Patel, who thought he was in control, realized that every word spoken since the morning had sealed his fate, and that in Washington politics, perception is reality. A highly publicized FBI director, promising non-existent secrets, had been reduced in minutes to a living lesson in accountability and truth. The final lesson of this event goes beyond Kash Patel, the FBI, or even Epstein conspiracy theories. It illustrates the relentless power of truth exposed within a political system obsessed with appearances and promises. It is not cunning, deception, or attack that destroys a career, but the mismatch between what one promises and what one can actually deliver. Patel had built his reputation on revealing secrets that did not exist, and had raised the hopes of those who believed in his promises. When the truth emerged, simple and relentless, it swept away the entire structure. The impact was instant and total. The trust of supporters, the credibility of political allies, and even the public perception of competence and loyalty all collapsed. The silence of influential observers, the media shockwave, and the dismay of longtime supporters demonstrated that in politics, manipulation and manufactured expectations are double-edged swords. Through meticulous preparation and mastery of the facts, Moskowitz showed that transparency and precision are more powerful than any emotional or theatrical attack. By forcing Patel to admit the absence of the infamous list, he demonstrated that truth, even simple and mundane, can expose hypocrisy and vanity, transforming a political myth into a memorable lesson for an entire generation. The power of this moment lies in its simplicity. Sometimes, the most formidable force is not law nor persuasion, but the courage to ask the right question and patiently wait for the answer, letting the unvarnished truth take care of the rest. Every unfulfilled promise, every disappointed expectation, every embarrassed silence of those who had believed in spectacular revelations became living proof that in politics, lies cannot survive long against reality, and that sometimes zero is all that remains.